Hello everyone and welcome to RTV's live coverage of the aftermath of Hurricane Dorian. I'm Jerome Sawyer. Well, the weekend gave local media an opportunity to visit some of the hurricane-affected islands. Here at RTV, we were able to get on the ground in both Abaco and Grand Bahama. Tonight, we will share portions of those journeys. Our intrusion into what was once Pigeon Peas. It's now a valley of death and destruction. Not one building remains standing in that community, and under the rubble any number of dead bodies. There are even bodies in plain sight waiting to be collected. Later on in the program, my personal journey to Pigeon Peas, and Jessica Robertson talks about her time in Treasure Key. But first, let's get you caught up on the latest recovery efforts. NEMA updating the public today on any number of post-storm actions and realities. It's part of a new communication strategy to pass along information to the public through daily briefings. Today's session focused on a number of key updates, among them the issue of immigration policies for the U.S. and Canada. This after a South Florida news station aired a story of Bahamians being asked to vacate a Florida-bound ship that was aired across U.S. networks. NEMA spokesman Carl Smith spoke to the issue today.
There are no new arrangements that have been established to facilitate entry of Bahamians into the United States or Canada. Bahamians interested in traveling to the United States or Canada should ensure that they have all of the usual immigration documents required by those countries for entry. While most inquiries have come in respect to movement to the United States or Canada, NEMA can confirm that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is not aware of any new arrangements for any other country.
There was also information on evacuees. As of this morning, 4,800 people have been evacuated from the affected islands, and plans are already in place for temporary housing.
I want to reiterate that there is no mandatory evacuation. The plan is not to move everyone out. We will be building temporary housing in Abaco and Grand Bahama. The airports will be opened for commercial flights at some point, and NEMA will advise you when that takes place. Please note, at this time, free evacuations are continuing.
Now, NEMA is working with a number of international groups and over 150 NGOs in what they call One Voice, One Response, many moving parts.
We are opening those systems that Carl just mentioned, and we are trying to bring people together to record, to register our activities, so we know where the needs are, the critical needs are, where the most vulnerable population needing our assistance, needing our support now, looking to accommodate those needs with a fashion coordinated response.
Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands getting a first-hand view of the damage at the Rand Memorial Hospital in Grand Bahama this weekend. The minister personally toured the hospital looking at the flood damage. Most of the hospital key areas have shut down with major electrical equipment and flood damage in almost every part of that facility.
The RAN has basically been rendered completely unusable, at least for 80–85% of the square footage. There has been contamination, water intrusion. It is simply not safe to put patients in that facility. A significant number of pieces of equipment have been damaged, and you could become just totally despaired to see what is there. But we're committed to getting it sorted out.
Meanwhile, some critical medical services restored to Grand Bahama over the weekend as well. A team arrived on the island to set up an emergency field hospital. It is hoped it will take the pressure off the Rand Memorial Hospital and give the government time to rebuild that facility while critical offerings are taking place within the healthcare system. People needing healthcare will be allowed to use the facility.
We're building a facility that will have about 60% capacity of RAND, so operating room, OB, inpatient, outpatient, ER, ICU, step down, and then of course a fully functional lab and pharmacy.
How are you able to do that with
within these conditions. You're talking about sort of a temporary hospital that's going to be fully functional. Explain to me how that really works.
Well, not a whole lot of sleep. We have a lot of great people in our disaster response pool that, we contacted and they were able to get on a plane or jump in a car within about 2 hours. We have our own DC-8 plane, so we're able to warehouse and then load that plane within hours. So from the moment we decided to come, on behalf of, PAHO and the government here in the Bahamas, from the moment we found out we were coming, which was in the evening, we were in flight the next afternoon.
Fantastic. And about how long will it take to get all this running? How many volunteers you have here? And really, what are some of the intricacies in getting this up and operational?
There's quite a lot. I mean, we have a biomedical technician, we have electricians, we have sanitation specialists, doctors, nurses, you name it, they're here right now.
Given the fact that the RAND has been damaged so significantly, we have now partnered with a number of organizations. Samaritan's Purse is just one of them, in conjunction with the Pan American Health Organization, to be able to replace the RAN, replace it completely, so that the same number of beds that the RAN would have had, we will have in these facilities combined, with the ability to perform surgery, to do laboratory studies, to do x-rays, and so on and so forth. We'll have an emergency room. We'll have an ambulatory area for people who are coming to get their chronic diseases managed. It is right across the street from the Rand Memorial Hospital, so accessible to people in Freeport, and they are going to be here for a minimum of 90 days. That will allow us time to bring the Rand Memorial back. We add to that the new capacity with the new ambulances that are coming on stream, the new transportation vehicles, and we believe that within the next 48 hours, the people of Grand Bahama will have an acute care facility for free, the same way that they're used to for their services.
Prime Minister in Grand Bahama this weekend as well, continuing his assessments. He also held a news conference with ministers and Grand Bahama members of Parliament. One of the things he spoke to was the restrictions in the airspace. This after the plane that the Prime Minister and several CARICOM leaders were in had a near miss. While on their way to Grand Bahama, apparently the pilot had to take some evasive actions after another plane was in the direct path of the flight carrying the Prime Minister and other CARICOM leaders.
We still today enforcing the restrictive airspace. I've explained to you why that is necessary. We do not at this time want to experience any mid-air collision. So you can explain to others why the restrictive airspace is being enforced.
Well, two CARICOM nations sending troops here to keep the peace and help out with recovery efforts.
Today, additional security personnel would be landing from the CARICOM nations. I think there are about 120 to 150 that will be landing today from Jamaica, who would be assisting us with security and ensuring safety. And tomorrow or soon afterward, there'd be an additional 100 personnel that would be arriving from Trinidad. The CARICOM community has made a commitment that if at any point in time we need added security personnel, those individuals would be provided, because we've seen what can possibly happen after devastation and catastrophic events like this. So the police and defense force would make determination as to how those individuals are dispersed, be it between Abaco and Grand Bahama or wherever is necessary.
Across the affected islands, recovery continues even as hundreds line up to evacuate to Nassau. Jessica Robertson was over in Treasure Key over the weekend. She joins me live. Jess, I know you spent quite a bit of time there. It was your second trip in as many days. Tell us, what was it like? I mean, how is the recovery effort coming?
It is coming. Stark difference between Thursday and Saturday in Treasure Key area. First of all, you've had a lot of people have evacuated, so the demand in that area has lessened somewhat. And also, you've had a lot of flights coming in. If we can see, we've got truckloads now coming in. This is at the community center on Saturday morning. This was a few planes that come in. A lot of Treasure Key Homeowners Association folks are arranging relief efforts coming in. They're getting them loaded up on the trucks, and they're bringing it in. Medical supplies, medical equipment, all these things needed. There was a doctor there helping out, Dr. Fines, finally. He had flown in that morning from Florida. He's a homeowner in Elbow Key. And he just came in to see from St. Mary's Clinic, I think he said, or hospital, he said, and they're just to help, to do an assessment, help her out a bit, and go back to his team to determine exactly what they really needed to bring in. So lots of supplies coming in, Treasure Key Resort Management coming in to help. And there's not as many people there. It's very orderly. So what's really kind of happened now is the clinic is operating as a clinic, but it's also a sub-distribution center for all of the goods coming in. So they're coming into this area, and then people are coming from as far away as Cooperstown and Marsh Harbor, north and south, to get supplies. They're getting it into the farm. Absolute sense of community happening here. Everyone is working together. It was interesting watching Avis Miller, and they were yelling at a little boy who just dropped a piece of garbage on the ground and made him pick it up. They're controlling the space that they do have to keep things as clean, as orderly as they possibly can. And they're so grateful for what help is coming in, and it's still needed. I mean, we even took in just some coolers of ice, because that's like gold right now, just to have a nice cold drink. I don't think we can truly appreciate what it's like not to have something like that. But here you can see equipment, a lot of medical equipment, EKG. So they're in a much better position than they were even 2 days before. And there are a lot of people still lining up at the airport, though, on Saturday trying to get out. And it was interesting. Every plane that comes in, relief efforts, they are going out with every seat now filled with people who want to leave. Some are going to Florida, most coming to Nassau. There was a gentleman going up and down trying to convince people he's got a place for them to stay in North Eleuthera. There weren't a lot of takers, I tell you that. And I think he was getting frustrated because he just wanted to help. But people, you've got to appreciate, people are scared. They don't know what the next step is, and so they want to go somewhere they know in some way. I think the fear is, okay, if I go to North Eleuthera, I don't have any family there. You may help me for a little bit, but then what? I've got to get somewhere else. So people really want to go where they're comfortable going. So like I said, every single flight is going out with people. And we, at the end of the day, we had 5 seats empty to go out. And so not sure how it was arranged, who could go. It's kind of like the golden tickets, a lottery system out there. And when we landed in Nassau, and I have to say, it was the Stella Maris resort owner, Joel Fries, who brought his plane down to help us with these relief efforts in and evacuated people back to Nassau, and then came back for us later, laden down with goods from Head Knowles warehouse again. So we took about 3,000 pounds of goods down there. And so we get back into Nassau, and before I left Jet Aviation, where we landed, I went around to make sure that all of the 5 people who we'd brought were okay, because of course there's no communication in North Eleuthera, so nobody knew they were on the flights. They don't even know maybe if they're alive at this point. And so there were 2 young people there, and they were on their phones, and I asked if they had a ride, and they hadn't been able to reach anybody on the phone yet. And so I said, well, where are you going? They told me. I said, come, let's go. I said, do you know where the house is? And he said, yeah, I think I do. And so we took off in the car, and kind of found out that, they were third cousins. As the young lady said to me, well, everybody in these small communities is related somehow. She actually is a police officer from Nassau who'd had to go down to Abaco to ride out the storm with younger siblings, her young nephew, because her parents were stuck at the end of a cruise in Florida because of Dorian. So let's see if we can take a listen to their experience.
Due to the bridge being destroyed, we don't have any direct means of an avenue, food supply, all of that to the main island. So what we'd have to do now, what persons have to do from Little Apco is basically hitch a ride, a boat ride. They'd have to leave from Little Apco and they have to go around to the larger settlements located at the main, within the main Abaco, and they'll have to get supplies. We don't have any service. We don't have no, yeah, no, we don't have any fuel, food supplies. We don't basically separated from everything that's going on in the outside.
It's just terrible, terrible. Poles down everywhere.
Bad flooding
Yeah, flooding. Some people get mud
in
in their
their
house.
homes due to the high waters, the high waters rising
Some
from
people
the sea.
lost cars, boats, lost ferries. Uncle lost business. Oh, I guess I could relocate. I'm not sure.
You haven't had a chance to even.
No, my phone service was dead, so I couldn't really speak to no one on behalf of my job or behalf of myself to speak for my job and stuff like that. So I don't know where I stand at this moment.
And that's kind of the reality. You find a lot of people coming out, the evacuees, they've gotten now past this I'm okay, and now they're moving into the now what phase. So while we were in Treasure Key by the clinic, all of a sudden up pulls this Army green Humvee, and we got talking to the British Army engineers who've been in there for a few days, and they're there to help out. We managed to get a ride in it. First time I've gotten to ride in one of these vehicles. We went through. And they are actually staying in a home that is still standing. There's obviously some water damage. There's some hanging chandeliers, big glass chandeliers, and they're about this full of water, so you know that there's been a lot of water. It's right on the beach. It's an absolutely beautiful home. It looks like it's probably salvageable. Right next to it is a pile of rubble. Another home did not make it. And so what they're doing is they do have permission. They've taken over this as their headquarters while they're in Treasure Key. They've set up cots. They've got tents. So they're not even staying in the house. We were amazed while we were there. They tried it, and the gas stove actually came on. We were blown away. Nobody expected even that to happen. And while we were there, I was able to talk with Captain Tom Booth, the British engineer, about what they're doing there in Abaco.
The area of Treasure Key was completely impassable. We cleared that up yesterday, and then today we've been working on from Treasure Key down to Murphytown, and then Treasure Key up to Cooperstown. We've established a one-way link between each.
What goes through your mind when you see what Hurricane Dorian just did here?
Where to start? Obviously my heart goes out to people. It's a desperate situation that people are in, and we'll do whatever we can to lessen the suffering of the people that are here. But yeah, it's difficult, and with so much destruction, it's where do you start? So we think, you know, by doing the roads, at least people can get around, move the wounded. People can be evacuated if they want. But yeah, that's our sort of main task at the moment. We're currently 20 people. We have vehicles, we have engineering equipment, and we have plant equipment. How long we stay? It's an open-ended question. We could stay a couple of days. We could stay a couple of weeks. It could be longer than that. It really doesn't know, and it's not up for me to decide, unfortunately. But what we can do is do as much as we can in whatever time that we have, whatever time we have.
So there you have it. Things are starting to happen in Treasure Key. Where things are going to go, what exactly is going to happen, that's unclear at this point. But most of the people who want to get out are getting out. I think a lot of people who thought, I'm going to ride this out, they're kind of realizing they need to get out for a little bit, even if it means just getting out, having a hot shower, sleep in an actual bed, and then come back in and join the efforts to rebuild.
Thanks, Jess. Great reporting there. Glad to hear from some folks in Little Abaco. We had quite a few inquiries in the previous days about what was happening there. People weren't able to hear what was happening with the folks in Little Abaco, so I was happy that you caught up with them, and we got sort of a glimpse into conditions there just from their eyewitness accounts, but how they are getting back and forth. The bridge is out, but they're using the boat to get back, to get back and forth.
Yeah, that morning they'd gotten up at about 5 in the morning. They had to bum a ride on a boat to Cooperstown, and it took a while to find every boat that was going out was full, so they finally got a ride there. Then when they get to Cooperstown, they've got to beg a ride all the way to Treasure Key Airport. They finally got there, and then they spend the entire day. Now, keep in mind, there are a few little tents set up, but there is no structure there, so you're out in the hot sun with limited provisions at the actual airport for people. Though some of the planes coming in, there were hot sandwiches, sub sandwiches coming in. So there are some provisions, and then just wait until you can beg a ride on a plane into Nassau, into what is still the unknown. And the young man, he hadn't had any telephone communication. He doesn't even know where his family is. His mother had taken a gamble, took his younger brother, and decided that their house in Little Abaco, way up north, probably wasn't strong enough to withstand the storm, so they went to Marsh Harbor. So now, after we talked and we all got hugs, and I tell you, Jerome, I've had some of the best hugs of my entire life from people who, up until this moment, were complete strangers. And you know, we all had hugs, and I left them with his cousin. I said, you know, they're good. And he said now he's got to get on the phone and start piecing his family together. Communities have been ripped apart in a way that I don't think we can truly appreciate. It's not just about homes being ripped apart. Communities, the people you see every day, the people you know, the people you would lean on during a time like this are scattered all over.
Jessica, thank you so very much. Great reporting. Thank you for bringing those stories. Those are the things that I think people are most interested in hearing about. How are our people recovering still at this stage? Well, relief supplies going into the affected islands by air and sea. Hurricane victims are lining up to get what they can. And given the significant losses suffered, the needs are great. In some cases, there are limited, if any, supplies available, which means everything has to be provided. And what kinds of things would you say are most needed right now on the island?
Water, most definitely, is most needed on the island. And like a lot of people have babies and feminine products, that's what's most important right now on the island.
And how are people getting the goods? I mean, I see people are here just collecting. So you come down and just wait on stuff to come in, or how does it work?
Yes, wherever locations are offering stuff, people go and gather. But, you know, there's no organization right now. So people are just, whenever they can find something, they go and they get it.
Okay, okay. How did you fare in the storm?
Well, my place was underwater, and I have two boys, 15 and 7 months old.
You've decided to stay?
Well, I'm sending my oldest one now on Western Air to Nassau to his father, and then me and the baby will probably decide to go to the States to a friend.
Okay, but you are getting out?
Yes, eventually I'm getting out, yes.
Plan to come back?
Yes, this is my home. I don't never stay nowhere too long. I always have to come back home. I love the Bahamas. I love home. I have to come back.
Well, groups like Dreamcatcher Foundation out of Canada have been sending funds to purchase goods out of Florida. They are then transported to the islands and given out. On this particular trip, a plane was organized by Bahamas EVAC on board a Western Air jet and offloaded at the Grand Bahama Airport. People lined up to get food, household items, water, juices, and toiletries. I see you out here getting supplies today. Are they starting to come in? Are you getting what you need?
Yes, I'm getting what I need.
Okay.
But actually, I didn't know they was giving out stuff. I came to bring my aunt because she's 76 and she's here by herself. All her kids in Nassau, so I brought her here to get her out of here so she could be with her family.
Okay, so she's leaving out today?
I hope so, on Western Air.
Okay, we're going to try and get on, but I see...
Thank you.
Okay, let me help you pick this up now. How did you make it in the storm?
Well, I made it okay, thank God. My house is still standing. I have a lot of roof damage, but I can live in it.
Okay, all right. I see a lot of people leaving. You think they're going to come back?
Boy, I don't know, because there's nothing to come back to. Some people lost everything, and it'll be hard for them to find some place to stay.
Well, I'm happy you're okay, and, you know, happy you're getting some of the stuff you need. We're going to try and get people to send as much as they can.
Well, much appreciated.
Anything in particular you need? I mean, just on the island that people need?
I know it's a lot of water and canned goods, food. Some people don't have generators, but thank God I have a generator.
Okay.
But I need gas now, because I was just on the gas line for about 2 hours trying to get gas in my car and to pull up to put in my generator.
Okay, all right. We can see what we can do to help you out.
Thank you.
Well, long lines at the Potter's Key dock today with people trying to get essentials to family and friends in Grand Bahama. Vehicles were backed up as far as the traffic light at the Paradise Island Bridge. And the mailboat office, hundreds waited there to send water, food, and other items to family members still on the island.
They're okay. They don't have power. The water they have to boil and so forth. They can't use, and the phones are in and out. So we're just trying to send something, and hopefully they get it and
What
they
are
can
you
use
sending?
it. Basically, basic snacks, water, bleach, things like that.
This is the circumstances you have to deal with it, you know. So just be patient. You know, the people over there are more in need than the little time you're gonna spend on the line, you know. So it's worth it, you know.
I'm on the line right now sending water and food.
Are any of them planning to come out of those areas?
Well, my grandkids is coming over, trying to get out. You know, but then everybody else is just sticking in. Everybody can't just leave one time. You know.
I see you're sending mattresses.
Yes, a mattress, a box spring, and a ton of groceries. We gotta go join that long line, then pay and join on another long line, and then I need someone to help me way down the road to bring the grocery.
But you're gonna stick with it.
I can stick with it.
Well, Donnell Taylor said the mailboat company was overwhelmed by the long lines, but determined to serve everyone before the 250-seat Fiesta mail sailed to Freeport.
As you can see, we're in crisis mode, which means that we're collecting cargo as much as we can get on, as quickly as possible. We ask that you give priority to household needs and things that are of dire straits right now. All the luxury items we can always wait on. You know, you don't really need to send televisions and that kind of thing at this moment. Try and get the important life-saving devices and items on board the vessel now, and so that your family and loved ones can have access to good, healthy drinking water and things of that nature. Our next sailing is going to be at 5 p.m. on Thursday of this week, and we're asking you to bring your items out early as possible. We open at 8 a.m. in the morning. There's a line out here usually from about 7, so I suggest you come early, and that we'll be able to collect your freight and get it to your destination.
Let me ask you, would it have been possible, because this is a crisis, that you would have amended your schedule for more sailings to the affected areas?
If that is the case, that'll be announced on the news. Management is considering all possibilities at the moment.
Well, this weekend I had the opportunity to get on the ground and view the damage firsthand. I had to admit I was simply not prepared for what we came across in the Haitian community known as Pigeon Peas. This week I will share that journey. Tonight, though, I wanted to share my own personal journey into a community that is now destroyed. Our plane landed into Marsh Harbor late Sunday evening. With only a few hours of daylight left, we decided to head to the areas of most damage. We were told it was Pigeon Peas and the mud, Haitian communities, shantytowns. For decades, a potential risk because of the poorly constructed wooden buildings. Prone to flooding, it was always feared that a big storm would wipe them out. That fear is now a reality. As we drove to the area, a local Abaconian warned of the chaos that nightfall could bring.
Tell me what happens at night.
People really try to rob you, take your car, you know, stuff like that. Because they can't find a ride, you know, people leaving their cars and stuff, but some people lock their cars up, you know, and carry the keys, but they ain't coming back, really, you understand? So, it's deplorable.
It's the gas station?
Yes, sir, it was the gas station. You know, we coming close to the mud area where they found plenty bodies. Really, we passed this, picking up a body. This is the mud area.
We drove in as far as we could, confronted with two choices: turn back or try and make it in by foot. I befriended a Haitian who says he's lived there for 22 years and asked if he would guide us in. As I stepped into this massive mound of rubble, I was greeted with the scent of dead bodies. Our guide was able to point out just where the carnage unfolded. I quickly surmised that this was going to be one of the most dangerous assignments I'd ever encountered. This video, shot from my cell phone, captures the dangerous journey in.
This is our
attempted trek into the mud. This is just debris. Jesus Christ. This is like an explosion in here. I don't think anyone survived in it.
I don't see it. So you mean everything went?
As we got deeper in, it became more and more treacherous. It's like you're on constant balance beams. Wow. Like here's water. Then we came upon a dead body in plain view. Yeah?
Don't even want to give respect to
Oh
the
my
dead.
God. Right there.
You have to come this way so your shadow don't be in the film. I only need to see one. I don't need too much in my head.
Oh, it looks like it
But
could be a woman.
No reason why they can't come and move this person. I wouldn't even call it a corpse. This person. If something was heavy on it and they couldn't lift it and they
You're more that way?
Yeah, I'm over there. But right out in the open like that, that's a disgrace. Nah.
Further we went, the more evidence of bodies. Some still in the open, waiting to be removed. Others trapped beneath rubble or, based on the scent, buried beneath collapsed structures. Bodies in here too?
That's woman.
Oh, Jesus.
That's an old lady.
Oh.
And well, yeah, we got a couple more ladies there again.
A couple more over in there?
Yeah. You see where this stick is?
Yeah.
Just move on over there. Just see more.
So every day you all see more and more bodies?
Yeah, that's what it is every day.
Who's coming to move them?
There are people who will move them, but some they see. They
And
say,
some they don't see?
Yeah, they do see, but there's some.
So they come every day?
Every day. Well, I just showed them there. They said tomorrow they can move them.
So tomorrow they move, they taking them out?
Yeah, they take them out.
Any idea how many?
But now, like, so yeah, they just move on there. They move on there, they while they go.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they move on there while they go. They don't move that one, they don't move this one. But some said that they see they try to move this one way here, that one way here.
Yeah.
But there's so much stuff right here.
They can't get to it.
They can't get to it. But so
wow.
One done there again, then the more. We in Pigeon Beach right now.
We in Pigeon Beach?
Pigeon Beach. This is Pigeon Beach. All of this Pigeon Beach.
That's body of you?
Yeah, some body right here too.
Suddenly, a member of the party is overcome in the moment. It is all a wasteland, evidence of wind damage and massive flooding everywhere. Yet in the midst of the rubble, hope, people are salvaging what they can. We decide to head back. The journey was no easier. In fact, it was just as dangerous navigating through this endless debris. These are delicate, balancing. It's clearly someone's roof. See the glass here?
You lie. Yeah.
Just the first in a series we will bring you this week from inside Pigeon Peas. That, of course, most of that was captured on my cell phone as I journeyed in. Well, there are more than 150 NGOs working along with NEMA to assist in the relief and restoration effort, but there are also many individuals, churches, and pockets of concerned individuals who are doing whatever they can to help. Joining me and joining us in studio is the Anglican Archdeacon Keith Cartwright. He is standing by with our Jessica Robertson tonight. Jess.
Thank you very much.
You have a good man with you out there.
I do.
At the board tonight.
I do.
Yes. Yeah.
Why are you going in to these places?
Well, we go in because we care and we love, and that is the gospel, the good news. Jesus came and said, love one another, and that's why we're going in each and every day to give our love to our fellow Bahamians.
You've been going, this is not the first time you've gone in post-hurricane to somewhere.
No, I've been doing post-hurricane trips for over 30 years now as a priest, and this particular hurricane is the worst ever that I have seen, and I've seen, like I said, for the last 30 years I've been going to assist, and this is by far the very worst we've had.
Tell me, I mean, we just saw what Jerome's experience was in Pigeon Pea in the mud, which undoubtedly as bad as, I was saying to someone, I said, the problem with this storm is you've got degrees of god-awful.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
Perhaps what had happened, on any other day, what happened in Nassau as a result of that storm would have been a big story.
Yes.
And then what happened in Freeport, and then what happened in Treasure Key, and then you get to the Marsh Harbor, which is just the worst of the worst.
Marsh Harbor and East Grand Bahama and Sweetings Key, yes. We can't forget the East Grand Bahama and Sweetings Key and the surrounding keys. Of course, Hopetown and Guanakee and those surrounding keys, devastated and decimated. But the word that we have to get out is that there is hope on the way. And we have had a lot of negativity that has come forth by so many people, and people who are traumatized, of course, I think, have reached out in various manners. But we as people who are going in and people who are helping must point to the hope and help that is on the way. I think we have to try as far as possible to dispel all the negativity and work together as one. And one of the things that I would like to say as a priest is that I would like to see all of our leaders, our nation leaders, working together. It will be a wonderful thing if our Prime Minister and the leader of the opposition together worked together. All of our leaders in our churches work together. And we have nothing to gain any sort of brownie points by just going off on our own little tangents. This is a tremendous, tremendous disaster. And together, only together, we have to work this through. And so all the hard-headedness and all the egos and the political ambitions and all the rest of it have to be put aside. And we have to work together to rebuild our country, to give our people hope. And so I plead with all our leaders, from the Prime Minister on down, the Leader of the Opposition and all the others, to please let us work together. Put aside all the pettiness. Let's come together and work together. Let's support our NEMA people. Let's uplift them. Let's, wherever the mistakes were made, plenty mistakes were made, and more mistakes will be made. But together, with all of our resources, we can overcome this, and that's what we got to do.
I think we have to just believe and trust that everyone is doing the absolute best they know how.
That's right. And let us not down anybody. Let's say, well, you know, maybe we could do it another way. Maybe we could, let's use the language of encouragement and really build people up. And that's what's most important here. People in Abaco, in Grand Bahama, as you have rightly said, they're thankful. They're grateful. They are so, so very thankful. And we who are on the outside, who are on social media, on whatever mechanism we can get, we are just offering criticism here, criticism there. No, let's work together. We are supposed to be a Christian nation. Our Lord Jesus Christ speaks about love and forgiveness. Let's put aside all of this and work together.
When you're on the ground, when you're even talking and counseling people here in Nassau, how do you, faith has to have been shaken.
Absolutely. What you do, first of all, you've got to listen. And you have to put yourself, try to put yourself in the shoes of that individual and walk with them. Understand their hearts, understand where they're coming from. And when you have heard all of those things, then you have to point them to what is good, what is positive, and reach into the bucket of hope that comes from the good news of Jesus and put that forth. That's what we have to do. And that is another point that I need to emphasize. All of us can be the counselors in some way. We all have family, we all have friends. Don't shut them down. Let them talk. Let them say what happened to them. Even if they are angry or they are really getting upset, let them get upset. But at the end of the day, in a very still, calm voice, let us point to hope.
And it's interesting, you know, one of the phrases that I've heard over and over, either in interviews that I've done, people I've just met and talked, how are you doing? Thank God for life.
Thank God for life. And that's the important thing. We have to understand as a people, what is God really saying to us as a nation? Is there a message in this? Is there something that we can learn from this? What is he really saying? A people of faith, at least from my perspective. And so we have to really begin to examine our own selves, examine our motives, examine our hearts, and then come refreshed and reinvigorated to say, this is what I can do. But each of us, every single person, has to give, has to help. We cannot do this alone. And we want to be a thankful people, grateful to those who come in, and happy to welcome everybody who is coming in to assist. And wherever we make mistakes, let us put those mistakes behind us and let us learn from them and move forward.
Thank you so much, and I'm sure you've given a lot of comfort to a lot of people over the past week.
And we are going back tomorrow. Bishop Leish Boyd, our bishop, is going back on the ground again. We were on the ground from the very next day, and we are going back again. I've been in with teams of our clergy every single day after the storm, and we'll continue to do that. And we have our clergy going in teams in the near future to help with the counseling. And of course, other churches are going to be doing the same, but let us work together.
There you have it. Thank you so much for all that you are doing.
Well,
Back
thank
to
you
Jerome.
too.
Thank you very much, Jessica. I mean, words to live by. Language of encouragement. Let us all work together. Those are the things that we have been trying to promote, and I hope that the message resonates with everyone tonight. Doesn't matter which denomination you're with, doesn't matter which party you're with, it doesn't matter who you are, the color of your skin. We're all Bahamians. We're all in this together. In fact, it's not even just Bahamians. You know, people of the world have come together to support the Bahamas. Well, it was back to school for thousands of kids, and a handful of children from the hurricane-battered islands also started school today. But hundreds from Grand Bahama and Abaco, now here in the capital, are transitioning to their new environs. One of them, the Ranfurly Home for Children, spoke with our Vaughn Aubrey about operations at the home and plans going forward.
The Ranfurly Home for Children has doubled in size with the arrival of 22 children from Abaco and Grand Bahama. There was a lot of activity today with volunteers, including foreigners, pitching in to make the children feel at home. Board member Catherine Chisnell Mitchell.
This is not a short-term thing. This is not a vacation in which everyone's going to go back in a couple of weeks. We're planning on these kids to be with us for if not months, perhaps a year or more than that. We also want to help as homes to commit for them to have a home rebuilt when they go back there. And so we're really trying to look at the small picture of hugging them, bringing them into our embrace again, putting them in beds, giving them food, giving them the knowledge that they have security right now, making them feel loved by the kids here who have done a wonderful job of parenting them the best you can co-parent.
The former dining room was transformed into living quarters as more children are expected. The rooms, complete with bunk beds and children's toys, have met the approval of children who arrived on Saturday. Among the volunteers assembling bunk beds were Mark and Bonnie Barr from Florida.
And then when we heard the hurricane came, we had some contacts here, and so we said, what could we bring? And so we were able to bring some stuff. And then when we got here, we found out bunk beds needed to be put together and kids needed to be loved, and so hopefully we get to do that.
Though there appeared to be a lot of donated items, Chisholm Mitchell said if there is excess, they will share with other children's homes. Regarding the children having so much to process, including surviving the hurricane, losing family members, and relocating to Nassau, Chisholm Mitchell expressed their premier concern.
We are prioritizing mental health treatment. We have an in-house counselor that has put together a trauma care team. The kids, as soon as they landed, have begun private one-on-one sessions with her. They're going to be continued, and it's our hope that Ampley can become a safe space for children so that we can open our doors to other children affected by the hurricane to come in for sessions at a later date. But right now, every single child that's been given to us is receiving counseling and therapy care. Most of all, I mean, any clinical psychologist would tell you right now, you keep them close, you take care of them, you make them feel secured and safe, and you take care of their physical needs, and that is what donations are doing, and that's what your help is doing.
And the new arrivals should be in classes later this week. Uniform donations are still being accepted. I am Vaughn Albury. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks a lot, Vaughn. A great story to end with tonight, Jessica.
Yes.
And all of this, people everywhere are doing their part to bring some normalcy, to the lives of everybody affected. And kids, we always look to kids first in a tragedy like this, because a lot of times children don't understand what has happened or what is happening, or we don't even appreciate sometimes how deeply affected children can be. And so looking at that today, and I mean, it looks great. What they've done inside there.
Amazing. And this is just in days.
Yeah.
Days. They got the call late last week, I think it was, that they needed to prepare to accept new kids in, and they made it happen. It's just amazing to see how so many people, a friend who went to volunteer there, and she said, I said, thank you for what you're doing. She said, this is easy compared to what others are doing. And I said, no, we each have to tap into our own talents to make this happen.
A busy weekend.
Yes.
You spent time in Treasure Key. I was island hopping between Grand Bahama and Abaco. But, as difficult as Abaco was, particularly in that Haitian community, the thing that struck me the most, especially passing to the airport and talking to Abaconians who said, we are going to get through this. We are going to bounce back bigger and better than ever. We're in it. I went in cold not knowing what I was going to do. And, as a journalist, you just sort of go in. So I had to negotiate a ride. I had to negotiate my way into where I needed to go. But two things stood out to me, and I wanted to speak to her tonight before I go. One, I met a team on the ground from Trinidad, covering, they were from a television station in Trinidad. They were covering. I thought to myself in that moment, how many times has the Bahamian press ever gone to a Caribbean island on their own to speak to what has happened in a hurricane? I think it's a moment that we need to stop and think and put our relationship into perspective with our neighbors. And they were there by themselves. They didn't come in with a government official. They were on the ground. And it struck me that some of our own reporters will not go into those places on their own. Secondly, about an hour later, we're standing outside of Pigeon Beach, getting ready to go in. And walking down the road a white man and woman, and of course with equipment on. And I said to her, this young lady, "Hi, where are you from?" She was from Tampa, from a newspaper in Tampa. And I said, "Well, did you just arrive?" She says, "No, I've been here 2 days." I said, "On the island?" She said, "Yeah, by myself." Her photographer had just come in, and she told me, she'd been all the way up to Little Abaco, and she was canvassing the island on her own. And I thought to myself, how many of my colleagues are that dedicated to our own country?
That brave.
Just thought about that. Not even just dedicated.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been interesting. And then we talk about, you and I both traveled, and then Sunday I found myself, like just about everybody I know, preparing to receive people who've lost everything. We're so interconnected in this country of ours. And so, you just found yourself, when the call comes through, when the text comes through, do you have somewhere that I can stay for a few days until I figure out my next moves? The only thing you can do is say, of course. And then you hang up on the phone and go, whew, okay, how are we going to do this? But you know what? We're going to do this, because how can you not? How can you not? Whatever I have, and all I could think all day yesterday as we were making preparations and making sure that we had places for different people, going to the food store to just get a few days worth of stuff for 2 different homes now. I'm just thinking, I'm just so thankful to be in a position to help.
I spent the weekend coordinating trips for people I don't know.
Yeah.
People started reaching out to me on Facebook and saying, "I want to get my mom out. I need to get my aunt out. I need help here. Can you give me information about this? I need to know this." And so I spent just, in between flights and running around and on the ground wherever I can get service. Let me check with this one. I'm going to make a call here. Here's what I know. I hope this helps. Every little bit. And just up to late last night, somebody I knew had lost everything. I said, I got a closet. Come, take what you want. Just little things that you're doing. And we're all affected.
Yeah, and we're all doing.
All affected, and we're doing, and that's the good news. And I encourage you, whatever it is, if it's $20, if you want to cook some food and take it to somebody's home who's housing, so people call, Hands for Hunger, call NEMA, see what they need. Maybe you can be responsible for 1 meal a week for a family, whatever it is. Social services, reach out. Don't just sit there and say we're in a crisis. Do something. Every little bit counts. And let me say this, do what is comfortable for you. We're not all good volunteers. We don't all have that touch. We don't all have access to huge amounts of cash.
Right.
But there are things that you can do to help, and if you don't know, ask someone. The need is great.
And the thing is, and this is a marathon. This is not a sprint. We see the extent of what has happened here. And so the people who have been in the front lines, they're getting tired, because they've been going at it for a week now around the clock. And so someone's going to have to tag in.
Yeah.
And tag in and tag out. And I've even been saying to people who are now kind of reaching out and saying, I still want to donate, I still want to give. And I'm like, hold off a bit, because we need another wave of this. I'd interviewed a relief worker who was on the ground in Treasure Key, and she's there, and she's got basically a backpack, and she's self-sufficient for 2 weeks. And I thought, God bless you, I can't go to Miami with a backpack. And but she said the message now is, yes, we see all of this happening and coming in. She said, what we all need to do is this feeling that we have right now. In a month, remember this feeling. In 2 months, at Christmas time, because the need is still going to be there.
You said it so well. This is not a sprint. It is a marathon. Jessica, thank you for your commitment to the show and to the broadcast this weekend. Also, a special thank you, I have to say it every night, to my wonderful team for continuing to do this. It is such a yeoman's effort. It's hard work for us, but we think it's that important that we come to you every night and to share these experiences and get you caught up on what is happening as we now move into the recovery effort as a result of Hurricane Dorian. Well, that's going to do it for tonight's program. As always, thank you so much for watching us. We'll see you tomorrow night, same time, same place. We have a closing photo
Yes,
tonight,
we
Jess,
do.
that you captured. You're always so good at these
Yeah,
things. I
we-
always
you
just
know,
get the
we
destruction.
kind of talked.
You get the great photos.
Yeah, we talked last week about the need to end on a positive note. We needed to bring hope every night. And so when I was in Treasure Key on Saturday, I walked in, and there was only one young girl in the clinic. On Thursday, there were a lot of kids running around. She was by herself, and I tried to engage her a couple of times, and she was just very, probably shy. But also, she's been through hell. And she's there because her mother is one of the rock stars who is holding that community together at the clinic there. So she's still there. And she didn't really, she didn't give much. There wasn't a lot of emotion. But I knew that there was a suitcase of toys on the truck coming that we had just brought over. My boss had asked her son, he's 8, to go and choose some toys from his toys to take to the children who needed them. And he went in and he picked out what he was giving. And so I got the suitcase and I just kind of unzipped a little bit of it, and I reached in and I felt something furry, and I pulled it out, and there's this teddy bear, which I later found out was his favorite teddy bear.
Oh, wow.
His mother was so proud of him for doing this, and so I went back into the hallway and I gave it to this little girl. They call her, I don't remember her real name, but they call her Mama. And that was the first emotion that I saw on her face that day. And she hugged it, and we decided that teddy bear hugs are the best kinds of hugs. And I asked her what the teddy bear's name was, and after a little humming and hawing, she decided it was Sophie.
Sophie. And with that, folks, we leave you with that photo tonight, letting you know that despite all of the death and destruction and the horror around us, that there is still hope.
There is still hope.
So, folks, that's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back on the air tomorrow night, same time. See you then.